All right, let's talk about data. Whenever you're looking at a bunch of numbers, you're faced with a big choice. Do you want every single tiny detail, or do you want a clean, easy-to-understand big picture? The tricky part is, you can't always have both. Today, we're diving right into that trade-off, looking at the two ways we handle data, grouped versus ungrouped.
Okay, just take a look at this. These are the test scores for 50 different students. It's just a wall of numbers, isn't it? This is data in its purest, most original form. Statisticians call it raw data. And let's be honest, it's a total mess. Trying to make sense of this is kind of a nightmare.
I mean, seriously, just by glancing at it, can you tell me what the average score is? Or if most of the class passed? Nope. When data is raw like this, any of the good stuff, the patterns, the trends, it's all completely buried in the noise.
So let's give this sea of numbers its official name and figure out what's going on. We're going to start by really understanding what ungrouped data is and what it's actually good for.
So ungrouped data is just what it sounds like. Data that hasn't been organized or messed with at all. It's just a raw list of every single observation, exactly how you found it. You can think of it like all the ingredients for a cake, just sitting on your kitchen counter. Every single egg, every grain of sugar, it's all there.
And this gets us to the heart of the problem, the big dilemma with ungrouped data. Its greatest strength is, weirdly enough, its biggest weakness. On one hand, you have perfect, flawless precision. Not a single piece of information is lost. But on the other hand, all that detail makes it super difficult to see what's going on. And if you have a huge data set, forget about it. It's just way too much to handle.
So how do we fix this? How do we find the actual story that's hiding in all these numbers? Well, we bring in some order to the chaos. And that brings us to the hero of our story today, the power of grouped data.
Grouped data is our answer. It's what happens when we take that messy, raw list and we start organizing it into nice, neat categories or buckets. We call these class intervals. The whole idea is just to simplify everything so we can finally see what's happening.
And the process is actually pretty simple. First, you just find the highest and lowest scores to get your range. Then you decide on your groups, like scores from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, and so on. After that, you literally just go through the list one by one and put a little tally mark in the right bucket. Finally, count them up.
And voila! This is the result. Remember that crazy list of 50 scores we started with? This is the exact same data. But now, look at it. It's organized into this clean, simple table. So much easier to read.
And just like that, a pattern practically jumps off the page at you. You can see right away that most students, a whopping 28 out of 50, scored somewhere between 20 and 40. Now that is a really useful piece of information and one we absolutely could not see just by staring at that raw list. That's the magic of grouping data. It gives you clarity. But hang on a second, was it really magic? Or did we have to give something up to get this beautiful, clear picture? This brings us to the most important part of this whole explainer, the trade-off. What did we actually lose when we cleaned everything up? I saw this quote from a user on Reddit, and it just hits the nail on the head. When you group data, you lose information. It's as simple as that. By summarizing, by putting everything into tidy little buckets, you are deliberately throwing away some of that fine-grained detail we had at the start. Here's a fun way to think about it. Imagine a really naughty puppy runs into your office and chews up that original list of 50 test scores. All you have left is that nice, neat summary table. Now, looking at that table, can you tell me the exact scores of those 14 students in the 20 to 30 bucket? No way! You know they're in there, but the specific numbers, the 22, the 25, the 29, they're gone forever.
And losing that information has real-world consequences for our math. Look at this. If we add up every single one of those 50 original scores and find the average, we get the true mean, 28.64. But when we try to calculate the mean from our group table, we can't. We have to guess. We use the middle of each group to represent everyone in it. And when we do that, we get an estimated mean of 27.4. It's close, but it's not exactly right.
So, what gives? Why isn't it a perfect match?
It's all because of that one little assumption we made. The grouped calculation pretends that all 14 of those students who scored between 20 and 30, it pretends they all scored exactly 25, right in the middle. But we know from our original list that's not true. They scored all over the place in that range. So, that simplification is where the tiny error sneaks in. The grouped data gives us a powerful estimate for sure, but it's not the exact truth.
Okay,
So, knowing all of this, how do we make the right call? When do we use the super precise but chaotic ungrouped data? And when do we go for the super clear but slightly less accurate grouped data?
Well, this is basically your cheat sheet. Stick with ungrouped data when your data set is small or when you absolutely, positively need perfect accuracy for your calculations. It's also the only way to go if you're hunting for specific outliers. But if you're dealing with a mountain of data, grouping is your best friend. It's built for spotting trends quickly and making clean charts and graphs where a good estimate is all you need.
So let's boil it all down. Ungrouped data equals precision. You get every last detail, but it can be a total mess. Grouped data equals clarity. It shows you the big picture, but it costs you some of the details. And because of that, any math you do with grouped data is always just an estimate. The most important thing to remember is that the right choice always depends on your goal. What are you trying to do?
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. The next time you see a beautiful, simple chart in a news story or a business report, just pause for a second and ask yourself this. What important, messy, crucial details might have been smoothed over and grouped away to make this picture look so clean? It's a powerful new way to look at all the data that's swirling around us every single day. Thanks for tuning in.